The more I read these articles, the more I listen to Bloomberg and CNBC, the more I've realized we didn't learn a goddamn thing in 2008. And I've heard, man, last week, several analysts, economists, whoever, talk about how strong the consumer is and how much home equity they have. So if a recession does hit, the consumer has a lifeline. I'm like, wow, we really didn't learn anything, have we? So here's what happens. If you had a home bought 5 years or more, let's say, and you saw this crazy price increase in the last couple of years, they're like, oh, I got an extra $100,000 of equity now because of the housing prices are so high. I can just pull that out. What do you think happens when a recession comes? What are you seeing right now as the prices are starting to cool as interest rates go up? Well, your value goes down. So your equity goes down. You go to do that home equity loan, they're going to probably do an appraisal on your home. And you're going to find out you don't have as much equity as you thought. So that's one scenario that you've seen happen in 2008. The second thing, especially in the last 2 years, what is your debt to income ratio? When you bought your home, you're probably okay. How much other stuff have you bought in the last 24 months? The world was sold out of bikes, jet skis, RVs, side by sides, vacation homes, new cars, new trucks, new everything. If your debt to income ratio is super high, you might not be qualified for that home equity loan. People took all that extra money in the last 2 years. They bought a lot of stuff and they have a lot of debt service. So now you got two things. Your home equity may drop substantially because of the housing bubble. Your own debt service might put you out of range for a home equity line. Now, the third thing. What typically happens during a recession? Oh, layoffs. So, how easy will it be getting a home equity line if you don't have income? Maybe you got a bunch of money in the bank. You'll figure something out. But my guess is if you're planning on taking out a home equity line to get through the bad times, you probably don't have a lot of money in the bank to begin with. These are three scenarios where you can't lie to yourself and say, hey, I got this little tool in my pocket, and if things get bad, I'll just pull some money out. It also takes quite a while to get the money out. You're not going to do this in 2 weeks. I saw it in 2008 where you saw equity in people's homes drop. A lot of people were dual income in it, and without the dual income, they couldn't afford the home. One person lost a job, and then they lost the home. You just seen so many things happen. Or they had, two brand new cars. They had their debt service way up, credit cards charged up, all this stuff, and it put their debt to income way up. And I feel like, everyone just overspent. They took risks on Bitcoin. They're on Robinhood, playing meme stocks. A lot of that money's evaporating right now. And, in America, homes are our favorite savings account. We use it as a checking account, money market account. We put money in, we pull money out. The problem is the values. Did you not think that in the last 18 months when a home went on sale and people were lined up around the block 40 deep and there's 10 all cash offers, 8 of those offers are over the asking price, and the people are doing no inspection to buy the home, what more of a sign of a bubble did you need? So trying to think of, in terms of your equity, can you really base it on a bubble number? When it pops, it's going to pop faster than you can get the money out of your home. I mean, how long does it even take to get a home equity line done right now? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? If things get really busy, who knows? What if you lose your job? What if you can't get approved? What if your credit score is too low? Do you want to take out a home equity line right now? What are home equity lines going for? 30-year mortgages are at like high fives? You want to pull money out of your house at 6, 7, 8%? Yeah, I don't see how it ends well. And I feel like you've seen all these economists and these professors and, the people in the government saying, oh, The consumer's really strong. It's like, well, if the consumer's strong, why is savings at like an all-time low right now? Like we're not. We're back to where we were kind of around January 2020. So we might have a bunch of equity in our homes, but if you take that away, we got a lot of debt. Our debt has skyrocketed on homes, on school, all this extra stuff we bought were all-time highs in debt. So what happens when we pull back? And you're watching savings is going to the tank because of gas prices, inflation, all this stuff going on. Like the consumers' pockets are getting drained right now. And you're saying we're safe because we have equity in homes? Man, that can evaporate really fast. And if you notice, the housing market's already cooled off because people don't want to buy homes at 6%. Even if they can buy a home, their buying power has been the housing prices are way up, which makes them almost unaffordable, and now the rates are up, which reduces the buying power, so you can't even afford the same home you could have afforded 2 years ago. Oh, man, if I hear one more person say the consumer is so prepared for a recession, I'm going to laugh. Maybe the top 10% or 15% of income earners or wealth in the country, they're going to be fine. Recession's going to hit. They're going to go, what recession? The other 85% of people are going to hurt. So I don't understand this concept of there's equity in home. Like there's equity in your home until there isn't. And during the crash, is that what you want to bank on? So here's the next, here's the best case scenario for you. You have a $500,000 house. Let's not forget, you probably got to leave about 20% of equity in the house. They don't let you draw all the money out of your equity. Let's just say you got a $500,000 house. You got to leave 20% of equity in, so you got to leave at least $100,000 in. Let's just say you got $200,000 of total equity. You got to at least leave $100 in to let you pull $100 out, and that's at a $500,000 home. You pull the $100 out, you owe $400, right? You left $100 in, which is the equivalent of 20% down. Now all of a sudden, the market crashes, the real estate bubble crashes. We're getting back to normal. Normal's like late 2019, early 2020, before the Fed pumped the money supply up. Now your house is worth $375 again, and you don't have that fat valuation. The problem is, you owe $400. So this is where it's like, okay, the consumer might be prepared with home equity, and even if you can get through, where your debt to income is low enough, and the equity doesn't crash right now, and you keep your job, when the market does come back to a more normalized valuation, you just pulled equity out of a home that you're now underwater on. So to sell your home, your $25,000 underwater, that's before you paid a realtor. So you're sitting in this home that's worth less than you owe on it, and you're going to have to write a check for $50,000 to get out of it. Not only that, you'll have no equity to carry into the next home you want to buy. You're going to end up renting somewhere. Maybe that's why these big firms are buying up all the houses. Maybe they know what's going to happen. Oh, is anybody thinking about this stuff? I was looking at doing a spec home because as much as I got going on, looking for something else to do. I like to create things. Maybe I'll build a spec home in a wealthy area. I was looking at land. Prices just were crazy. I thought about moving my primary home at one point in the last couple years. Someone goes, I had this on my YouTube channel before, but they say, why don't you sell? You can get so much more money for your house right now. I'm like, yeah, but the house that I want to buy went up. An example: if I sell my house for $1 million and I got an extra 100 for it right now, because of the way the market is, if I want to buy a house for $2 million, that house probably went up by $200,000. What I was trying to explain to them is, for the extra money I would make selling my home now, if I bought the next house I want, when that one falls back, it's gonna fall back twice as much as the house I have now. So I might gain a little bit by selling this, but I'm going to lose a hell of a lot more on the next one when the market comes back down to normal. And they didn't get it. And I'm like, you'll just have to wait and see. Maybe the market doesn't go back. I don't need to move that bad, and it's too much of a risk. I don't want to buy a house and watch it go back in value $300,000 or $400,000 in 18 months. And then, God, when I want to sell it, I'm gonna quote unquote break even, which we know that's not breaking even. Yeah, no thanks. So, yeah, I wouldn't sit there and say that I'm gonna rely on my home equity line if that's your backup plan right now. Hey, if the market stays up and you stay employed and the valuations of homes stay where they are, you're probably fine. But has that ever happened? Have you ever went into a recession where you didn't see massive layoffs, where you haven't seen pay cuts, where you saw housing prices stay up? Yeah, not that I remember, anyways. And this is the bubbles of all bubbles. We ran every asset class up to the moon: equities, Bitcoin, real estate. Like, gotta be smart, you know, have some cash on hand, stop spending money, get your debt service down. Man, I feel like, and I'm not giving financial advice, it's just my thoughts. But I feel like the last thing you want to do is probably take out a home equity line, unless you have to. Like, if I was in that situation, that's what I would do anyways. Just, there's a potential recession coming. It may be low, it may be shallow, or it could be severely deep and long. And we don't know. Maybe there will be no recession. Nobody knows. I had to say right now, you might have 6 to 12 months to get yourself in a better position instead of trying to rely on a home equity line, which it seems that's what people like writing about. It's what people on CNBC seem to want to talk about, or their guests anyways, or whatever the hell channel I've been watching lately. It just doesn't make any sense because you saw how fast home prices dropped in 2008. Not just that, I remember in 2008, businesses were getting their credit lines cut, and people were getting their credit card limits cut. If you had a $12,000 credit card limit, they might have cut it down to $5,000. If you had a business credit line for $250,000, they might have cut it down to $125,000. You were basing your living and future expenses and decision making on the fact that you had this credit, and then it gets pulled from you, and then things get even worse. You can't bank on any of this stuff. And I think the same thing happens with the home equity lines, and you're gonna bank on that. You don't know what home valuations are going to be in 12 months. You don't know if you're going to be employed. Like, it's crazy to think that that's what every analyst out there is banking on, is that the home equity lines are going to save us if a recession hits. I'm not so sure about that. Anyways, before I keep rambling on, just think about it. Where things are going in the next 12 to 18 months. Are you in the right position to get through? Keep that in mind.